Hello and welcome everyone. So I'll be explaining problem B and problem C of recent Codeforces round Div 3 round 710. Problem B, let's start with problem B. The name is partial replacement. Basically in this problem you're going to be given a string which will consist only three types of characters. You will have dot or star, okay, and the other type of character is x, which you're going to be inserting when you will apply the operations, and you have to replace, they've said that you have to replace some of the star characters with the x character such that the following conditions met. And remember, it is always possible to make something like that because they have assured us. So the operation, what are the conditions that we need to make sure that we get the best string out of it, which is always, first of all, they have said that the string that's going to be given, there will be at least one star, okay, guaranteed one star, and the operations that you're gonna do is, or the following conditions that has to be met, which is the first character star in the original string should be replaced with x, also the last character. What I mean by, if the string looks something like that, if I say this is my dot and this is one star here, let's say I've got another star here and a couple of dots and another star, and they've said that this if you were given a string like this, then the first character, which is a star, and the last character, which is a star, will definitely and always be replaced by x. So I am fully sure about that. Okay, what is the third option? What is the third condition that we have to make and apply, which is, they have said that the distance between two neighboring replaced character x must not exceed k, which is, it must not be something like greater than k. It should always have to be less than or equal to k. What they mean by any neighboring two star, if you make them x, only then, okay, if you make them x, any neighboring 2x character, you could say something like any neighboring 2x characters difference must be less than or equal to k. It won't be greater than k. So we have to assure that in order to make the string. Also, one condition that they have said, that they have assured us that it is guaranteed that there is at least one star in the string, and also it is guaranteed that the distance between any two neighboring star character does not exceed k. So this is the key part here. The key part is, look, this line is definitely important line throughout the whole statement. This is a very important line to make the observation, which is, they have said that yes, it is guaranteed that any two neighboring star, if there exist any two neighboring star character, their difference, their positional difference, let's say this is j, this is I, and their positional difference, which is j minus I, will always be less than or equal to k. They have assured us that. So as they have assured us, I think that or I thought that then the task is boils down to only one thing, that I need to put, and they have actually wanted us to find the minimum number of star characters that must be replaced with x characters in order to satisfy the conditions above. So I will have to replace some stars with x, but I will do such as I will do, and I will replace minimum of stars with x. So the minimum number of operations that I will hold. How can I make sure? Of course, I will try to make their distance as big as possible, which is of course up to k, obviously. And I will try to make judgment and try to efficient that. I did that approach using 2 pointers approach. So first what I did, let me explain you what exactly I did here. Let's say I have let's take an example here. Let's take this one. Okay, dot star star. Let's say I've got dot star star dot star star star, and the k is equal to 3. So the k value is equal to 3. So I know that the adjacent difference of the 2 stars or the 2x, I have to make it less than or equal to 3. But I already know that no matter what happens, I will always make this x. So initially I will do that, okay? No matter what happens, I will make this x and this x. This has to happen. Now, I could have said that yes, this is my final string if the difference between the first x and the last x was less than or equal to k, which means 3. In this case, which is 3, less than or equal to 3. But turns out it is not fully satisfying that. Obviously, I know it is not fully satisfying that. So what will I do? The best way to do that is what I did. I am starting. I literally what I did was taking all the stars' position inside a vector and then dealing with only the stars so that I could get rid of the dots. So that's the first thing that I did. Let's declare the indexes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I guess 1, 2, 3. Okay, sorry, 4, 5, 6, and then 7. Okay. So what I did was inside my vector, I only took the positions of the stars because I only care about them, because I'm only going to replace the stars with my x, of course. So then finally the vector boiled down to 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. Now what I would do is, I know that my first star will always be replaced with x, so I actually will commence my journey from the second star index that comes here. So from here, I know this is my first star index, which I already replaced with x, and now this is my second position from the first. Okay, the second position. I will start my loop from here. This is my I, and what I will do is, as I have to make the minimum replacement, I will try to make the distance as big as possible up to k, so that I could go further and further until it becomes k, or until it crosses the line. So this is my j, and initially I'm actually let's assume that inside my vector, I know inside my vector this j, if I could denote it, this is the vector index 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And let's assume j equal to 0 and I equal to 1 in terms of traversing from the vector. Okay, because I know that v of I will definitely be index of the original array, so it doesn't matter whichever you take. Let's assume, let's take the vector index. So in terms of vector index, my first index will be j equal to 0, because I already replaced that, and this is the first pointer, and the traversing pointer, the second pointer, which is going to be the I variable, which is going to denote and direct on the index number 1. On the other hand, j will be declaring with 0. Now what will I do is I will try to keep traverse and try to find out this v of I, whether v of I minus v of j is greater than k. If it's less than or equal to k, if v of I minus v of j is less than or equal to k, remember what was j? J was the first index. So I'm making sure that it was the first index initially, which is 0, j equal to 0 in terms of vector, and then tracking out for this condition, which means vi minus vj. Now vi, what is vi or vj denoting? It's denoting the original array's index where the stars are available. Okay, now then what will I do? I will just comparing this condition, if vi minus vj, so basically vi minus vj is less than or equal to k, I know that I don't have to replace something. Of course, I don't have to replace anything. I know that the distance is already less than or equal to k. And by doing that, I'm going to be going forward towards the loop, running the second pointer I, and if I at some point if I come across a point where vi minus vj is greater than k, then exactly what exactly I will do is I will count my result, because I know that for this position I definitely have to replace something with x. Now what will be that index? That index will be j equal to I minus 1. Okay, that index would be j equal to I minus 1. Why is that? I know that I have come across very far, and I took that decision, and I found out that yes, that difference is greater than k. Now that difference is greater than k. Now I will try to make the newest index that I'm going to be replacing. Of course, I have to make it as close as my second traversing point, so that I could go further, taking the second pointer and comparing the closest distance, and also going further with I, so that will give us the minimum result, and finally outputting the answer as result. I hope you get that. Now coming to the third problem. Okay, before coming to the third problem, let's check the code. The code here. There you go. The code. The same thing that I talked about. The first thing, taking the indexes inside the vector where there is a star, and then if the vector size is 1 or 2, I know the answer is going to always be 1 and 2. Of course, you know that according to the statements and the conditions available here. And otherwise, if it's greater than or equal to 3, and I know what will happen. This is the condition that I talked about. This is my first pointer. This is the second pointer that I told you, running pointer, taking going forward as possible, making sure the distance is as large as possible, but when it breaks out of k, then making sure that the first pointer, which was j, is as close as possible, which is the nearest, which is definitely I minus 1, of course. And then finally counting and then finally counting the result. And also one thing to notice is inside this I minus 1, I know that inside my vectors, this vector index is only referring to the star pointer, so that I don't need to worry about anything else, or the dot characters. So I hope you get that here. And then counting the result and finally printing the result. That's it. That's basically it. And initializing result as equal to 2. Also remember this thing, initializing result as equal to 2, because in terms of the statements, I know that my result will always be at least 2 if there is if the vector size is at least 3. Okay, I hope you get that. Now let's come to the problem C. Okay, so this problem was pretty straightforward and easy, I thought. And so in this problem, basically you're given two strings of different lengths. Lengths are very small, which probably you can assume that you can do a brute force approach. So the operation is, your main task is to make those two strings equal. Okay, you will be given two different strings. Your task is to make those two strings equal, and you can do some operations on those two strings in order to apply, and then finally, after applying some of the operations and manipulating those two strings, then the resulting string, you have to somehow come with a decision that you can make two of those strings equal. Now, what are the operations that you could perform on those two strings? The operations are, you can either delete the first character or delete the last character of that string. Okay, so let's say one string was something like, let's say I, C, P, C. You could do this operation at one term. You could allow and delete this character. Then you could delete this character. You could delete this character, and by deleting from the first or from the last, and then shrinking the total string, you have to find out whether by doing this operation you could make two strings equal. And finally, you have to print what is the minimum number of operations to make those two strings equal. Now, when it comes to minimum number of operations, something should click your mind that, okay, I have to do minimum number of operations, which means I have to make that string which is equal to A and also B. Of course, it has to be, if I could make that string bigger, then definitely I know that I don't have to delete much of the characters out of those two strings. I hope you get that. So what we have to do, we have to find out what is the common substring out of those two strings A and B, and what is the maximum common and eventually what is the maximum common substring which is appearing in both A and also B. If I could somehow find out that, then I know that my answer will be, if I denote as the length of A as N and length of B as M, then I could denote my answer as N plus M, which is the total string of the two total length of the two strings, minus 2 times my maximum common substring out of those two strings, comparing those two strings. Now, how will you find out the common maximum common substring? You can use a brute force approach, because the lengths are so small. It's up to like 20. If the length was almost quite a lot or bigger, you could you could have done a dynamic approach, but actually we don't need that. The lengths are so small that I could do a brute force approach. So that brute force approach is here, and the complexity is up to like n cube, I guess. 3 for loops and n cube. These first 2 for loops are just denoting. What am I actually doing? Let's assume. How did I do? Let's explain you how did I do the brute force here. Okay, let's say this is string A and this is string B. Now let's focus on the first character of the string A. So for this character, I will denote how far I can make. For this character, if I start from this character from B, and then I will say that, okay, how far I can make. Okay, how far, this is common, because if it's equal, starting from this character, what is the common substring that I can get? And then again doing the same thing, starting from this character, what is the common substring I can get, comparing this in the second loop. I hope you get that. I mean, brute force is not that easy, not that hard, sorry. You could figure out, and that's it pretty much. And then finally adding the outputting the answer. It's not that hard. I hope you get that. Till next time. Till next time, goodbye.